Hi, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about planning the activity plans and what that entails and what parts are really important. You start out with your goals, and it's good if you start looking in your creative curriculum book for objectives, the fifth book if you have the five books. And if you're using the creative curriculum, the college edition, you've noticed in each chapter that there are learning objectives that are listed within the chapter. So, something I want you to start doing for this week or next week, if you've already done your plan for dramatic play, is that I want you to look for objectives specifically related to dramatic play to write on your activity form. And then go to your early learning standards document and find the benchmarks for dramatic play that would go along with your learning objectives. Be sure that you fill out your materials list completely and think of everything that you would need. And it's always good to use a book. I didn't include that in there as a little note, but it is always really important to have a good book for every activity plan, in my opinion. Then, when you get to the procedure, you need to be very, very detailed as to what you will do and what the children will do. And if you kind of break it down into three stages and think of the beginning, how am I going to draw the children in? How am I going to introduce my activity to them? What kinds of open ended questions will I ask them to get them interested in what it is I'm going to do with them? And then lead into the activity. I mentioned in the little notes for the past couple of weeks about being sure your activity is developmentally appropriate. And I referenced you to go to the NACE website or to purchase the NACE Developmentally Appropriate Practice Book, the Green Bible we affectionately call it. And so that can help guide you as you write your plans. We don't want our lesson plans, our activity plans to be too teacher directed. And by that, I mean that we're not writing in the procedure part that this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to tell the children, this is what the children are going to do. We never say that we're going to hold the children's hands and we're going to cut things for them or do things for them. When we have child-directed lesson planning, we're really setting up the environment and the materials for the children to use on their own. And that is at the heart of good developmentally appropriate lesson planning. I hope those are some little tips to get you started in the procedure part. If you go back and look at the block activity plans from last week, there were some that were, spot on in terms of being really set up and developed with the children in mind, that we're engaging the children. We want to stimulate the children's thinking. We want the children to problem solve and work on their own. We want to stay out of the way, but we're there to have anticipated their questions and their ideas and be sure we have the materials and the guidance there for them and to help scaffold their learning. So if you remember that little tidbit that you've learned about Vygotsky, this is an important part of developmentally appropriate activity planning. Finally, when you do, for now, we're just writing planning. In week 9, you will actually submit a lesson plan, an activity plan for a letter grade. And the last parts on the activity plan are about assessment, anecdotals, and reflection. You should include assessment on your planning form right now because assessment is circular and connected to, goes back to the objectives and your goals. And so if you say that the goal for this activity is for the children to interact socially with each other, then your assessment piece is going to be, I did an observation and I counted how many times, I did a time sampling. I counted how many times the children talked back and forth with each other and engaged in conversation about a dramatic play scenario they were engaging in. I'm the mommy, you're the daddy. How to take care of the baby, fix me my breakfast, fix me my lunch. How many times did they go back and forth? So assessment is key because that's your measurement. That's how you really can tell if you've met your objectives, the learning objectives for the children. You have to demonstrate how the children are learning and have met those objectives. The anecdotal, which you will write later on after you do your implementation of teaching activities later this semester, is where you will talk about the implementation in terms of the anecdotal little notes, funny little stories. I had one happen today. I had a student who was making a Very Hungry Caterpillar class book, and each child got to make a page that went into this class book. And I had suggested to her the other day that maybe she take a hole punch and punch little holes in the food items that they had glued on their story page book. And so she came back today after the children had finished the book, and she had not taken the punch in to do that. But one of the children who came to make their Very Hungry Caterpillar page, after he had glued all of his food items on there, he said, Miss Crystal, can I have a hole punch? I want to punch a hole in each of the pieces of food to show where the caterpillar went through. So that's an anecdotal, a little story that goes along that demonstrates the children's learning or an interaction that you had. And then finally, your reflection section is very in-depth and detailed. What went well, what could be improved on the next time. And some of you who are already teaching, in whether you're in a family child care home or in your own programs, if you want to, some of you are implementing your activities, that's fine. Please go ahead and fill out the reflection section as we put them on the discussion board. So it's a good model for everyone to kind of get an idea of how to write a reflection, and that's a wonderful addition to our experience. So if you have any questions, please email me and let me know if you like this video presentation, and we can certainly have more of them. And watch soon, because we're going to be teaching you how to make your own video to send to me and to everyone else. Talk to you soon.